Have you ever put off a difficult conversation because you thought, I'll bring it up after this project is over? Or maybe you thought they'll fix it on their own. Or maybe you said, I don't want to ruin the relationship. And then 3 months later, the behavior still hasn't changed. Now you're frustrated and your employee is confused. Let's be honest. This is the part of leadership that most managers wish they could skip. Here's the good news. A difficult conversation doesn't have to damage trust. Handled well, it can actually strengthen it. Let me tell you how. I'm Jaboria Scott, a leadership development coach, and on this channel, I share practical leadership tips that you can actually use. Here's something I see managers struggle with all the time. They think difficult conversations hurt relationships. In reality, avoiding difficult conversations usually hurts the relationship much more. Let's talk about why. Have you ever seen the movie Frozen? I'm sure you have. There's a famous song called Let It Go. It's great advice if someone cuts you off in traffic. It's terrible advice if one of your employees continues missing deadlines. Many managers have accidentally adopted the let it go leadership style. Late again? Let it go. Miss another deadline? Let it go. Roll their eyes during a meeting? Let it go. Until one day, the issue has become so big that everyone on the team is wondering, why has nothing been addressed yet? And they see it. Problems rarely disappear when we ignore them. They usually grow. According to Gallup, employees are far more likely to be engaged when they receive regular, meaningful feedback rather than waiting for annual reviews. Here's why that matters. Most employees don't fear feedback. They fear surprises. When managers wait too long to address concerns, they unintentionally create anxiety instead of clarity. Here's something to think about. Your brain naturally wants to avoid uncomfortable situations. It tells you, maybe next week it'll be better, or maybe they'll figure it out on their own, or maybe I'm overreacting. Meanwhile, your employee is thinking, if my manager hasn't said anything, I must be doing okay. Silence often gets interpreted as approval. That's why avoiding the conversation can create bigger problems later on. So here's a leadership myth. Having difficult conversation damages trust, when the reality is avoiding difficult conversations damages trust. Employees want honesty delivered with respect. So if you want to have difficult conversations without damaging working relationships and trust, avoid these 3 mistakes. Difficult conversation mistake number 1, waiting too long to have the conversation. One of the biggest mistakes managers make is waiting until they're frustrated. If your opening sentence starts with, I've been meaning to talk to you about this, you've probably waited too long already. Address concerns early. Address them calmly and address them consistently. Difficult conversation mistake number 2, being vague. Managers sometimes spend 10 minutes talking around the issue. Everyone knows why they're there, but nobody says it. Instead of saying, there have been some concerns, say, I've noticed you've missed the last 3 deadlines and I'd like to understand what's getting in the way. Focus on observable behavior, not assumptions. Difficult conversation mistake number 3, making it personal. Talk about the behavior, never the person's character. There's a big difference between saying, you're careless and saying, I noticed there were several errors in the report. Behavior can change. Labels, they create defensiveness. Guaranteed. One of the frameworks I use is the CLAIR framework to help with difficult conversations. The CLAIR framework starts with C, clarify the behavior. Talk about what happened, not who they are. Then listen first. Ask questions before jumping to conclusions. Explain the impact, help your team member understand why the issue matters, and agree on next steps. Define what success looks like moving forward, and then finally review and follow up. Leadership doesn't end when the conversation ends. Follow through builds accountability. One lesson I've learned as a leadership development coach is this. The conversations managers fear the most are often the conversations employees appreciate the most, not because they're enjoyable, because they're honest. People want clarity. And when those conversations are handled with respect, empathy, and consistency, they build trust instead of breaking it. Here's Here's your manager challenge for this week. Think about one conversation you've been avoiding and schedule it this week. Go into that conversation with curiosity instead of assumptions, and you may be surprised how differently it goes. Here's a key takeaway. The best leaders don't avoid discomfort. They learn how to lead through it. Now, if today's episode made you think about the way you naturally communicate with your team, I'd love for you to take my free What's Your Leadership Style quiz. You'll discover your leadership style, receive personalized results, and get a unique action plan with practical tips from top leaders that you can start using now. Just click the link below to take the free quiz. Now, if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell, because in our next episode, we're going to talk about how to hold employees accountable without micromanaging so that you're not the manager that makes everyone run when you enter the break room. As always, have a great week. Be kind to yourself. And remember, leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about becoming the kind of leader that people can trust with the truth. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.